All right, so I took a break for a few months from talking about this sort of thing, but I found a connection between the Frank family and Epstein, Jeffrey Epstein. You all know who Jeffrey Epstein is, or was, or likely still is. He was accused of having inappropriate sexual relationships with underage girls. And I believe also he's been accused of a lot of things. Child trafficking. I don't know how much of it he was found guilty for, but yeah, you've all heard the talk of all the crazy things that have gone on the Epstein Island. And if you've been coming to my channel for a while, at least since roughly 2022, I have been regularly releasing videos talking about the Frank family, Zay Frank and his family, and some of his associates who I suspect are likely in some kind of a cult or a network that practices incest and child trafficking. So here we have this is the official U.S. Department of Justice website, and this is the Epstein Library, so the archives of the files associated with Jeffrey Epstein. If you scroll down here, there's a search bar, and I started recently typing in, searching for Zay Frank, his family, certain associates to see if anybody would pop up. And I've been sitting on this information for a minute, but and I'm not ready to really fully come back to dedicating a lot of time to researching all this stuff and talking about it, but this is too big of an issue, and this is a big enough bit of evidence that it needs to be mentioned now. So, turns out Joachim Frank, there we go, I'm going to type Joachim Frank right in there in the search bar. That's Zay Frank's father. He's a Nobel laureate, Nobel Prize winner, and a professor at Columbia University. So we're going to search his name, and there we go. So if you type any name in here, any phrase, word, if it shows up anywhere in the Epstein files, and you search for it, the search results will produce all of the specific documents and pages that mention that name or phrase. So it's two different documents here that have Joachim Frank's name in them, but both documents are just basically the same email. So we'll click on this one. And this email was sent to Jeffrey Epstein at this email address here in November 2017 from a BE, who I assume is this Barbro C. Enbaum. I guess that's how you pronounce the name. I'm not sure. And you can see down here, right here at the bottom of the email, Joachim Frank is mentioned. Joachim Frank from Columbia, who probably knows your friend Richard Axel. So I'll read through this real quick. Hey, Jeff. It makes it a little difficult with these weird little the symbols they put in there. Hey, Jeff. This is the Do Good Sustainable BSNS project by one of our BBB New York girls, Agnes. Swimwear made from recovered fishnets in the sea. What the hell does that even mean, guys? Sounds like it might be code to me, but I don't know. Maybe you want to buy a few. I am in New York City for another week, then go back to Stockholm for 2 weeks, then Christmas here, BBB Xmas in Sweden, December 4th, and here December 19th. Hope you are well. I met the U.S. Nobel Prize guys, that's important, guys, multiple, plural, in Washington a week ago, including Joachim Frank from Columbia, who probably knows your friend Richard Axel, also important right here. Yes, he probably does know Richard Axel because Richard Axel also works at Columbia. Richard Axel is also a Nobel laureate. He's a Nobel Prize winner, and he also works at Columbia University, along with Joachim Frank. Something I want to point out to you guys real quick is, again, guys, multiple, plural. So this person, and I'm going to look into her some more. I did a quick Google search, but I didn't really read through too much. So we'll see what she's all about. So she met with multiple Nobel laureate people in Washington. Multiple. She didn't mention multiple names. She didn't mention a lot of guys' names that she met. Well, she mentioned Richard Axel, but it didn't seem like she met him there from the way this is worded. Because you'd think if she met Joachim Frank and Richard Axel together, she would know for sure if they were friends. But here she says probably. Probably knows your friend Richard Axel. So I'm guessing that she did not meet Richard Axel in Washington, but she met a group of Nobel laureates, and one of them was Joachim Frank. Why didn't she mention any of the other Nobel laureates that she ran into? I don't know. Like, it just, out of all the Nobel laureates, and I'm sure she met a few, she specifically chose to mention Joachim Frank. It's important to mention that, yes, these two very likely know each other and are possibly friends. Richard Axel, so let me pull this up. So I started off talking about this guy. This is Ze Frank. He worked for BuzzFeed Motion Pictures for several years. And he's a content creator on YouTube, primarily these days. And he created True Facts. Some of you might have seen these videos on YouTube. There's supposed to be comical videos about different kinds of animals. So he makes these. He narrates them. He also has come out with 2 other video series back in 2006 and 2012, roughly. 2 different video series. One in 2006, one in 2012. A Show with Ze Frank. So you can see all these here. There we go. This was his first series. And then The Show with Ze Frank. There we go. No, The Show was the first series. And A Show with Ze Frank was the second series. So you can go back and look at those. Those are, again, they're on his YouTube channel. I'm not going to pull up his YouTube channel. I don't feel like doing that. But just search Ze Frank in YouTube and you'll find his channel. And his True Facts series and his other 2 original series that he made. After watching a lot of the videos in his first 2 series, I started to realize that he's showing there are very veiled references to certain occulted symbols that have to do with devil worship, child abuse, child trafficking, stuff like that. So that's why I started talking about all of this. Is I do genuinely believe that Ze Frank was born into a family that is in a kind of a cult. They're in some kind of secret society network. And I do think that they probably do things that are not legal and not moral to children. And let me pull up, let's see. Here's his father, Joachim Frank. So he's the guy who's mentioned in the Epstein files here. Okay. Again, he's a Nobel laureate, and he works at Columbia University. You can read his Wikipedia down here if you want. I'm not going to pull it up. If you want to, I'm not going to get into too much detail about the connections I've made between these people and different occult symbols. If you would like to know more about that, please go back and find the videos I've made in the past. They're pretty easy to find. They usually have Ze Frank in the title, or Joachim Frank in the title, or the Western Cult, because I dubbed them the Western Cult. And they span all the way back to about 2022. And then, so For example, one video, I break down, if you pay attention, a lot of it, in order to understand it, you have to pay attention to details. So in one video, I talk about how gangs and secret societies, they'll often have like a dress code. They'll wear very specific colors. So if you pay attention here, all the adults that aren't moms are wearing blue. This is Ze Frank, his wife Jody. This is Ze Frank's sister. This is her husband. This is Joachim Frank, their dad, and this is his wife. As of when this picture was taken, Ze Frank's sister Mariel, she was not a mom yet. So she's wearing blue like the rest of them. But then the two moms here, the two women who have children, they're wearing black with a silvery gray over top. So this is not accidental. This is on purpose. And it's also connected with, I suspect it's connected with color theory that was developed by, of course the name's escaping me. I would have known it right away immediately, but it actually talks about it. He talks about it in here in his biography. His family was friends with this guy, the guy who wrote Faust. So just look that up. Who wrote Faust? All right. The guy who wrote Faust, his family was friends with Joachim Frank's family, and that guy also developed. It was like Wolfgang von. It was something like that. That guy also developed. He wrote books about color theory. So I'm sorry if this is, I feel like I'm not really being very peppy about this. I know that a lot of YouTube videos, they want you to be upbeat, so I've tried to maintain that energy, but I don't feel like it right now. I'm just going over some facts. This is Richard Axel. So this is the guy who's also a Nobel laureate. He also works at Columbia University. He is friends with Jeffrey Epstein, and he was invited to Jeffrey Epstein's island. So it says right here, university professor and Nobel laureate Richard Axel, CC67, was invited to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein's island in 2011, 3 years after Epstein pled guilty to and was convicted of soliciting prostitution from a minor, according to documents released by the Justice Department on Friday. Whether or not he went to the island, I don't know, but he was invited to go to the island. So, and he was a good enough friend with Epstein that he shows up in the files. So this is the only time Joachim Frank shows up. But still, just the fact that he shows up, I mean, again, I've been talking about these people, the Franks, Ze Frank, Joachim Frank, the family, and telling people, I suspect that they are in a cult and that they probably do something bad to children for a while. And now this guy, Joachim, shows up in the Epstein files here. Oh, by the way, let me circle back here. Sorry, I'm getting over a little bit of a cold. I'm going to zoom in here a little bit. So you can see here, I mentioned in a previous video a while ago, like maybe close to 2 years ago, I was trying to break down different aspects of this picture. First of all, she looks like she's wearing an evil eye. So I do think that these people are very much into occulted stuff. That's an occulted symbol, evil eye. And at some point I said, it looks like there's definitely something red here. And at first I surmised it could be blood or something, because I said I think that this might be commemorating some kind of ritual having to do with this little girl. I've changed my mind about this, though. What I think this could be, because it is red, it's a bit of red, it seems like it's dangling down there, and it seems like it could be around the boy's wrist. what I think it could be is, let's pull this up. Red occult bracelet. See if that. So here it is. It's like it's a red bracelet that has, I think it's 7 or 8 knots in it. This is a well-known bracelet that's worn by people who are into the occult. Hollywood. Became a big deal in Hollywood. Lots of celebrities were wearing it. Let's see if I can find any. Yeah, here we go. So you see like Angelina Jolie, Ashton Kutcher, they're all wearing this simple red string bracelet with knots in it. Ashton Kutcher also heard a lot of stuff about him being associated with child molestation or people who are child molesters or, you know, abused underage minors. And I've just heard too much stuff about this dude. I know he spoke in court against child trafficking and child abuse, but at the same time, a lot of my research has shown that people who do like to traffic in children, who hurt children, who sexually assault children, will just as often speak out against it. So they play both sides. They have a public face and they have a private face. And on the public face, they're like, I hate child trafficking. And then in private, they do horrible things to children. So I don't know for sure. I just know I've seen and heard a lot of stuff about this nonsense. So, but you can see here, yeah, it's a big deal in Hollywood amongst celebrities. They wear this red string around their wrists. So that's an occult thing. And again, that's what I think this might be around this kid's wrist. And again, I'm fairly certain. It's hard to make out completely because it's blurry, but this looks very much like it's probably an evil eye. So let's pull that up real quick. Evil eye. Images. Right there. So it comes in all kinds of jewelry and stuff like that. Now, there are lots of people who have this and they are not raping kids. Let me just be clear about that. I have one of these hanging in my living room. But it's just to prove that, yeah, these people are very likely into the occult. All right, so we're just making that connection there. Evil eye, red occult bracelet thing, okay? Weird little, what is it called? Weird, what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, I'm still a little bit sick, so my mind's not working at full capacity right now. Dress code, that's it. Weird dress code going on here. Blue, 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 blue for everybody who's not a mom. Here are the two moms wearing black and grayish silver. But then you have the girl right here. She's wearing kind of a gray one. She's wearing pink. Look into color theory and look into philosophies behind color theory and pull up the color wheel. Gosh, what is his name? Starts with like a G. Whatever. Let me see if I can find it here. Wolfgang von Goethe. Right here. There we go. Johann Wolfgang von Goethe's family. So they were friends with Johann Wolfgang von Goethe's family. So that's Joachim Frank's family was friends with this guy's family. And this guy wrote Faust, which is a story about a guy making a deal with the devil. But he also wrote a book about color theory. There we go. Look here. See the gray? Grayish green color here on the top, and the pink, magenta on the bottom. Now let's come back here. Grayish green on the top, pink, magenta on the bottom. So I do think it has something to do, it has a connection to do with the color theory of Goethe. But yeah, I might make another version of this video that's hopefully shorter. But just to recap, Joachim Frank is in the Epstein files, guys. I've been talking about these people being in a cult, likely being in a cult for a long time now, for a few years. This guy is friends with this guy. They work together. Or it seems like they're probably friends. I don't know for sure. Maybe they secretly think that the other one's an asshole. Maybe. I don't know. But they work together. They're both Nobel laureates. And this guy was invited to Epstein Island. Okay? He's all over. So let's pull up Richard Axel here real quick. Richard Axel. He shows up all over the Epstein files. Look, see? And there's multiple pages of the, you could go to multiple different pages here. All right. So he's in there a lot. A lot. He was friends with Epstein. This guy was friends with Epstein. Let me pull up Jeffrey Epstein just to put a face to the name for you guys. Epstein. That accidentally came up. I didn't mean to do that. That's funny, though. When you search Epstein files and Zay Frank, it brings up one of Zay Frank's videos. And I guess somewhere, Jeffrey Epstein last interview, it's somehow this is connected to that video. That's funny. So here he is, creeper. So this guy was very good friends with this guy for many years and invited him to his secret, gross little island where they did horrible things to minors, underage kids, at that island. Whether or not this guy went there, I don't know, but he was invited. And he was friends with Epstein for a while. And you have to think, why would he be invited? Like, why would Epstein... I'm sure Epstein knew lots of people and was friends with lots of people. But considering the kind of stuff he got up to on that island, I'm sure there were some people he invited there and some people he knew not to invite there. You understand? Like, why are you going to get invited to that island unless he knows you're going to be cool with whatever kind of weird shit you might see going down there? So, yeah, that's documented. That's on record that this dude was invited there. And that there were plane tickets and everything for him to go there. Whether or not, again, I don't know if he went for sure. But, yeah, I think that this, again, it's just another bit of evidence supporting my argument that this is a cult. That there are whole families in this cult, that they do weird, crazy, gross things. For whatever reason. I don't care what their reasons are. What they do is evil. So, it needs to stop. And, yeah, let's just leave it there. And this was the first guy, this is the one who started it all off, kicked it all off. Because I noticed weird things in his videos from 2012 and 2006, 2007. Like, for one thing, again, go back and look at my previous videos on this YouTube channel, and you will see I point out that I found an image, a hidden image of a little girl in a hidden frame in one of his videos. It just pops up real quick and then goes away. So weird stuff like that. Just, yeah, gross. All right. So yeah, if you guys, are bored, if you need something to do with yourselves, come on over to the Epstein files and start searching for people, because this is kind of fun. And again, let me just remind you, first of all, this first statement here is just, it's a little weird. I'm wondering what BBB means. BBB New York and BBB Christmas. That's just, maybe it's because there are 3 B's in her name. Barbro N. Bomb. Maybe that. But then why does it say BBB New York girls? One of our BBB New York girls. I gotta look into who this chick is some more. Really interesting. And the fact that she felt the need to be like, hey, I met this guy, Joachim Frank. I'm pretty sure he's friends with your friend Richard Axel, or knows your friend Richard Axel. Maybe he'd like to come out to the island too, is maybe what she was, what she was suggesting. I don't know. So there's nothing that seems on the surface to directly implicate Joachim Frank here, but just the fact that he's mentioned in these files. Yeah, Jeffrey Epstein knew a lot of people who knew a lot of people, but I think you were knowing a lot of the wrong people if you wound up in these files. You know what I'm saying? If they felt like you were worth mentioning to Jeffrey Epstein, yuck. Yuck. So, all right, let's just leave it at that. Maybe I'll make a better version of this. It's not as long and not as blah. Good night.